Look, I get it. You want to know why humans are the only species in the entire Galactic Federation exempt from mandatory safety briefings. As a junior safety inspector for the Department of Xenical Risk Assessment, I can tell you, it's not because we want it this way. Trust me, no one wants it this way. Especially not Director Rax, who is currently turning an alarming shade of purple as he glares at the empty human section during our annual Galactic Safety Conference. Again. The conference center aboard Station Omega-9 is packed with representatives from over 300 species. You've got your standard array of tentacled beings, crystalline entities, gas-based life forms, and even a few quantum consciousness collectives. Everyone is diligently taking notes on the latest updates to airlock protocols and the proper handling of antimatter waste. Everyone, except the humans. Inspector Zix 427. Director Rax's voice booms across the hall, making me jump. My sensory appendages quiver as all 6 of his eyes lock onto me. Perhaps you'd like to explain to our assembled colleagues why the human section is empty for the 5th consecutive year? I clear my throat tubes. Well, sir, according to subsection 7b of the Human Exemption Protocol, and I quote, due to their unique approach to problem-solving and risk assessment, human representatives are permitted to skip all safety briefings, provided they sign a waiver acknowledging that any resulting chaos is their own damn fault. A murmur ripples through the audience. A Zorian diplomat raises all 3 of their appendages. Surely they must attend the practical demonstrations? The emergency procedures? The mandatory training on the proper use of escape pods? I check my datapad. Actually, no. They're exempt from those too. After the incident, it was determined that forcing humans to follow standard safety protocols often leads to, well, creative solutions that give our insurance providers existential crises. Speaking of humans and their creative solutions, Director Reek interrupts, his mandibles clicking in frustration. Where's Captain Cooper? He's supposed to be giving a presentation on human emergency response techniques. Right on cue, the conference center doors slide open. Captain Jack Cooper strolls in, coffee in one hand and what appears to be a half-eaten sandwich in the other. His uniform is slightly wrinkled, and there's a smudge of engine grease on his collar. Somehow, he makes it look intentional. Sorry I'm late, folks, he announces, grinning at the assembled dignitaries. Had to help some maintenance bots with a stuck airlock. Did you know you can fix a quantum seal misalignment with a rubber band and a paperclip? Works like a charm. Director Reek's color shifts from purple to an alarming shade of ultraviolet. Captain Cooper, that is absolutely not the approved method for. Oh, and I brought donuts, Cooper interrupts, holding up a box that definitely wasn't in his hands a moment ago. Anyone want one? They're from Earth, real sugar, none of that synthesized stuff. I watch in fascination as several delegates, who moments ago were outraged by humanity's blatant disregard for safety protocols, suddenly become very interested in Earth pastries. Even Director Reek's mandibles twitch slightly at the sight of the sprinkled ones. And that's the thing about humans. They don't just break rules, they make you question why the rules existed in the first place. They skip safety briefings not because they're reckless, but because they've somehow transcended the very concept of conventional safety. But to truly understand why, we need to go back to the incident. Inspector Zix 427. Director Rax's voice snaps me back to reality. Since you seem so well versed in human protocols, perhaps you'd like to explain to our guests exactly why we had to create these exemptions in the first place? I gulp. Well, here goes nothing. The incident, humanity's first official integration into the Galactic Federation's safety protocols. This was back when we still believed we could make humans follow standard procedures. We were so young. So naive. Picture this, Orientation Day, 15 years ago. The Federation's flagship station, pristine and gleaming, hosting the first batch of human representatives. Director Rax was just a senior safety coordinator back then, still optimistic, still believing in the power of properly filed paperwork. The humans have achieved faster-than-light travel, he said during the pre-orientation briefing. surely they understand the importance of safety protocols. Oh, how wrong we were. The human delegation arrived, led by Dr. Emma Martinez, Earth's head of space exploration safety. She seemed perfect. Multiple PhDs, decades of experience, an impressive record of preventing disasters. What we didn't know was that humans consider preventing disasters and surviving disasters through improvisation to be basically the same thing. The problem started during the basic safety demonstration, standard stuff. How to operate an emergency pressure suit, proper evacuation procedures, emergency beacon protocols. Dr. Martinez was taking notes, asking intelligent questions, being the model student. Then, the station's artificial gravity hiccuped. Now, artificial gravity malfunctions are exactly why we have safety briefings. There's a carefully tested, 17-step procedure for dealing with sudden gravitational anomalies. Step 1, remain calm. Step 2, activate your personal gravity tether. Step 3, follow the color-coded emergency paths to the nearest gravity stabilization chamber. Dr. Martinez did none of these things. Instead, as equipment started floating around the presentation hall, she grabbed a fire extinguisher, aimed it behind her, and used it as a makeshift thruster to reach the main gravity control panel. While upside down, drinking coffee. Dr. Martinez. Director Rax shouted, his voice hitting frequencies that made crystalline beings resonate. Please follow standard emergency procedures. No time, she called back cheerfully. Besides, I think I see the problem. Your quantum stabilizers are out of sync. Anyone got a pencil? A pencil. She wanted a pencil during a level 3 gravitational emergency. What happened next has been analyzed by Federation safety experts for years. Dr. Martinez, still using the fire extinguisher for propulsion, wedged a graphite pencil into the control panel's maintenance port, used her coffee as a conductive medium, apparently. Caffeine improves conductivity, who knew, and somehow managed to reset the quantum stabilizers. Gravity returned. Everything and everyone fell to the floor. Well, almost everyone. Dr. Martinez had managed to land gracefully on her feet, still holding her now empty coffee cup. See, she said, brushing off her uniform. No problem. Though you might want to look into that stabilizer issue, the harmonic resonance was way off. I could hear it in my teeth. Director Rax's mandibles twitched so fast they became a blur. Dr. Martinez, he said with forced calm, there are procedures. Oh, right, she said with a shrug. The procedures. She pulled out her orientation packet. Let's see, gravitational emergency response, 17 steps. She looked genuinely puzzled. Wouldn't it be faster to just fix the problem? That's when Lieutenant Rodriguez from the human engineering team spoke up. You know what would prevent these stabilizer issues? Duct tape. Absolutely not, Director Reek said. 3 hours later, after 4 more gravitational hiccups, they let Rodriguez apply the duct tape. It worked perfectly. The station's gravity remained stable for the next 6 months. We tried to maintain order, we really did, but then came the incident with the plasma leak that was patched with bubble gum, the depressurized cargo bay that was sealed with spray foam insulation, and let's not even talk about how they prevented a matter-antimatter containment breach using a rubber duck and 2 paper clips. Every time, the humans solved the problem before anyone could even begin implementing proper safety procedures. Their solutions, while completely insane, worked. They just worked. The final straw came during a routine safety drill. We were testing emergency response times with observers from 50 different species present. Everything was going according to protocol until the simulation system malfunctioned, turning what should have been a simple exercise into a real emergency. The humans? They treated it like a party game. Hold my coffee became the most terrifying phrase in the galaxy that day. When the emergency was over and the humans had once again saved everyone using methods that defied both physics and common sense, Director Vac called an emergency meeting of the safety board. The result? The human exemption protocol, because sometimes, the safest thing to do is to let humans ignore safety completely. And that, I tell the assembled delegates at the conference, is why humans don't attend safety briefings. We found that trying to make humans follow standard procedures actually increased the risk of unusual solutions by 47%. What about the rubber duck? Someone calls from the back of the hall. We don't talk about the rubber duck, Director Reek says firmly. That incident is classified. Captain Cooper, still handing out donuts, grins. The duck was my idea, actually. Though the paper clips were all Dr. Martinez. Did you know she once stabilized a quantum core using only? Next topic. Director Reek shouts, their color shifting to infrared. Perhaps we should discuss the statistical analysis of human survival rates. Yes, perhaps we should, I say, because that's where things get really interesting. The numbers don't make sense, Engineer Clicks announces to the conference hall, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicate extreme frustration. They simply don't make sense. Clicks heads our Department of Xenorisk Assessment's statistical analysis team, and they've spent the last decade studying human survival rates. The results have caused 3 supercomputers to crash and 1 AI to request early retirement. According to every model we have, Clicks continues, bringing up a holographic chart, humans should have gone extinct approximately 47,000 times in the past decade alone. Their approach to safety isn't just unorthodox, it defies probability itself. The chart shows survival rates across all known spacefaring species. Most follow a neat, predictable pattern. The more safety protocols followed, the higher the survival rate. A beautiful, logical correlation. Then there's the human line, which looks like an angry snake having a seizure. Observe, Click says, highlighting a particular incident. The Proxima Centauri mining operation. When faced with a critical reactor breach, standard procedure dictates immediate evacuation. The human response? They pause for dramatic effect. They send in a maintenance worker named Bob with a wrench and, I quote from the incident report, a pretty good feeling about this. Murmurs ripple through the audience. Captain Cooper, now lounging in the back with his feet up on a chair, gives a thumbs up. Bob survived, Clicks continues. Not only survived, but fixed the reactor using a technique that our engineers still cannot explain. When asked about his methodology, Bob said he just, Click size. And I quote again, knocked it back into place. Director Reek's mandibles twitch. The maintenance costs were 97% lower than standard procedures would have required, Clicks interrupts. This is the paradox. Human solutions, while apparently random and definitely in violation of multiple laws of physics, are consistently more efficient. They bring up another chart, this one showing incident response times across species. Average emergency response time following safety protocols, 17.3 minutes. Average human response time, 2.4 minutes, most of which is spent saying hold my beer and coming up with unnecessarily creative solutions. They're not unnecessary if they work, Cooper calls out. And that's not all, Clicks continues, their crystalline structure vibrating in exasperation. Captain Cooper, your species once prevented a solar flare from hitting a colony by redirecting it with a makeshift satellite array built from space debris and, somehow, a collection of vintage disco balls. The reflective surface geometry was perfect, Cooper says defensively. Plus, who doesn't love disco? Clicks pulls up another data set. We've documented 3,427 cases of humans solving lethal problems with household items. The top 5 most commonly used items are, in order, duct tape, paper clips, chewing gum, rubber bands, and something humans call WD-40. The last one makes things move, Cooper explains helpfully. The first one makes things stop moving. Between the two, you can fix anything. That is not how engineering works. Click's crystalline structure vibrates in protest. And yet, I say, the success rate speaks for itself. I point to the final chart showing survival statistics. You humans have a 99.9% survival rate in scenarios where all standard safety procedures have failed. The conference hall goes quiet. It's true. We've all seen it. When everything goes wrong, when all our carefully designed protocols fail, you want a human around. Preferably one with access to duct tape. There's more, Click says, their tone suggesting they'd rather be delivering any other news. We've observed a phenomenon we call the hold my beer effect. When one human announces they are about to do something incredibly dangerous by first handing their beverage to another human, the success rate of whatever improbable solution they've devised actually increases by 42%. It's a confidence thing, Cooper explains, somehow having acquired a new coffee. Plus, you don't want to spill good beer. We tried to replicate it, Clicks admits. We had other species hand off beverages before attempting dangerous solutions. The results were unfortunate. That's because you're thinking about it wrong, Cooper says. It's not about the beer. It's about style, Director Vac interrupts flatly. Style, Cooper confirms. Half of solving any problem is believing you can solve it. The other half is looking cool while doing it. I'm from the university IT department. I've done worse things to get systems back online. The standoff lasts exactly 12 seconds, then the coffee machine powers down, gently descends to the counter and runs a self-diagnostic that eliminates the sentient subroutine. I still have nightmares about that instant coffee, Cooper says with a shudder. But it's the final experiment that really demonstrates why humans get their own safety exemptions. We called it the everything scenario. We activated every possible emergency system, Clicks explains as the final clip begins playing. Multi-system failures, cascading power outages, artificial gravity malfunctions, atmospheric decompression, temporal distortions, and a small dimensional rift in the cafeteria. According to our simulations, successful evacuation following safety protocols would take approximately 47 minutes. Survival rate, 12%. The footage shows chaos, alarms blaring, systems failing, that dimensional rift slowly consuming the vending machines. Then shows the human response team, 3 engineers, a janitor, and Captain Cooper himself. Remember, folks, Cooper says in the video, gathering supplies from a storage closet. We just need to keep everything stable for about 10 minutes. Why 10 minutes, someone asks. Because that's when Jen from accounting gets back from lunch, Cooper replies, and she's going to be really annoyed if that rift ate all the diet soda again. What happens next has been studied by Federation scientists for years. Using nothing but cleaning supplies, spare parts, and yes, several rolls of duct tape, the human team not only prevented a complete station meltdown but also closed the dimensional rift. Total time, 8 minutes 43 seconds. The cleaning solution neutralized the temporal distortions, Cooper explains to the stunned conference audience. Basic chemistry, really. Plus, you know how dimensional rifts hate the smell of lemon pledge. Click's crystalline form dims. That's not how dimensional rifts work. Tell that to the rift, Cooper grins. Oh wait, you can't, because it's gone. Along with only half the vending machines this time. The footage ends and the lights come back up. The conference hall is silent except for the sound of Captain Cooper finishing his donut. So you see, Click concludes, their voice heavy with a mixture of admiration and existential dread, we had no choice but to exempt humans from standard safety protocols. Their methods may be unorthodox, but the results speak for themselves. Speaking of results, Cooper interrupts, checking his phone. We might want to wrap this up soon. I just got a text from Jen in accounting. Apparently, the coffee machine is asking about union benefits again. Director Rena color shifts to an alarming shade of pew. But we wiped its sentient subroutine. Yeah, Cooper says, standing up and stretching. About that. Turns out if you threaten an AI with instant coffee, it develops a survival instinct. Half the conference delegates rush off to deal with the coffee situation. I can't help but notice that nobody suggests following standard procedures this time. Sometimes, you just need to let the humans handle it their way, even if their way involves duct tape, paper clips, and the ever-present threat of instant coffee. Nobody expected the crisis to happen during a safety conference. In retrospect, we probably should have. The universe has a sense of irony that humans seem to find hilarious, and the rest of us find terrifying. It started with a small warning light on Director Rex's datapad, right in the middle of his presentation about proper emergency beacon protocols, the kind of warning light that standard procedures say should be immediately reported to station maintenance. Naturally, Captain Cooper noticed it from across the room. "That's not good," he said, somehow already next to the director despite having been by the door a moment ago. "That's the quantum core synchronization warning." "Impossible," Director Vac replied. "We just had the core serviced last week. All safety protocols were followed exactly." "Yeah," Cooper said, pulling out his phone. "That's probably the problem. Hey, you mind if I call in some help?" Before Director Reek could respond, the station's gravity reversed, then switched back, then started cycling through random variations every 3.7 seconds. Standard procedure for quantum core destabilization is very clear: evacuate immediately. The station's automated systems begin blaring the evacuation order in 17 different languages, including 2 that require tentacles to properly pronounce. Evacuation will take 23 minutes following proper procedures, Click announced, their crystalline form somehow maintaining dignity while floating toward the ceiling. Time to critical failure, 15 minutes. "Oh good," Cooper said, typing on his phone. "Plenty of time then." That's when Martinez burst through the door wearing what appeared to be a makeshift gravity harness made from gym equipment and office supplies. "Jack," she called out to Cooper. "Got your text? Core going quantum critical?" "Yep," Cooper replied casually, adjusting his stance as gravity shifted again. "Want to help me do something incredibly stupid?" "Always," she grinned. "What's the plan? Remember that thing we did on Europa with the rubber bands and the paper clips? The thing that caused 3 safety inspectors to quit? That's the one. We'd need at least 30 rubber bands," Martinez said, already pulling supplies from her pockets. "And some way to channel the quantum fluctuations. Will this work?" Cooper asked, holding up his coffee cup. Martinez's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. The coffee's conductivity will help stabilize the quantum field." "That's not how quantum physics works." Click shouted from near the ceiling. "Tell that to the coffee," Cooper and Martinez replied in unison. What happened next defied every safety protocol, physics textbook, and insurance policy in the galaxy. Using rubber bands, paper clips, 3 coffee cups, and what I'm pretty sure was a candy bar, they built some sort of quantum field stabilizer. "This will either save the station," Martinez announced cheerfully, "or create a small black hole." "Those are not acceptable parameters." Director Vac's voice hit frequencies that made the quantum fluctuations temporarily pause in confusion. "Too late." Cooper called out, attaching the last rubber band. "Fire in the hole." There was a flash of light, a smell like toasted cinnamon, and a sound that several physicists later described as the universe hiccuping. When it cleared, the gravity had stabilized, the quantum core was purring like a contented cat, and somehow the station's efficiency ratings had improved by 15%. "See?" Cooper said, straightening his slightly singed uniform. "No problem. But the procedures," Director Vac stammered. "Would have gotten everyone evacuated safely," Martinez finished for him. "Which is great, but this way nobody had to evacuate, the station's still here and," she checked her watch, "we still have time to finish those donuts before they get stale." That's when something remarkable happened. Director Vac, upholder of regulations, defender of proper procedures, and author of the 17-volume Comprehensive Guide to Safety Protocols, started laughing. 20 years, he said between chuckles, 20 years I've been trying to make the universe follow proper safety procedures. And then humans come along and save a station with office supplies. Don't forget the coffee, Cooper added helpfully. The coffee, Vac agreed, still chuckling, which, by the way, directly violates regulations about using beverages in emergency situations. Want to know the best part? Martinez asked, grinning. We can teach other humans to do this, but only if they don't have to follow standard procedures. Vac looked at the quantum stabilizer, then the evacuation manual, then the bunch of grinning humans and sighed. You know what? Let's make human exemptions permanent. Now you're thinking like a human, Cooper exclaimed. Sort of want me to show you how to fix a temporal paradox with a paperclip? Absolutely not, Vac replied, then after a pause, maybe later. And that's how the crisis ended, not with an evacuation but with humans. Once again proving that sometimes the best safety protocol is no protocol at all. Though we did add a new regulation requiring all stations to stock rubber bands just in case, so here we are back at the annual Galactic Safety Conference, where the human section remains cheerfully empty except for Captain Cooper, who's now teaching a group of wide-eyed delegates how to make emergency repair tools out of snack wrappers. The key, he's saying, is to believe that it'll work. The universe loves confidence. The universe director Reek mutters loves proper procedures, but he's smiling as he says it. Well, as much as someone with mandibles can smile, the human exemption protocol has been officially expanded. We now have a human solutions department staffed entirely by humans who are called in when standard procedures fail. Their official motto is hold my coffee. Their unofficial motto is what's the worst that could happen. We've learned to accept that when a human says those words, they're not tempting fate, they're challenging it to a friendly competition, and somehow they usually win. Other species have tried to replicate human methods. The results have been interesting. A Zentan attempt to fix a fusion reactor with office supplies resulted in 3 tentacle sprains and a strongly worded memo about proper equipment requisition forms. A Vection engineer tried the hold my beverage technique and ended up discovering a new type of physics, though not the one they were aiming for. You can't force it, Cooper explained when asked why other species can't replicate human solutions. The second you try to turn it into a procedure, it stops working. It's like trying to write down the rules for jazz. The whole point is improvisation. We've made some concessions to reality. Of course, all Federation stations now stock duct tape, paper clips and rubber bands as essential safety equipment. Coffee machines are officially classified as potentially sentient beings and are given regular software updates to prevent union organizing attempts, and there's a new section in the emergency manual titled When All Else Fails, Find a Human. The scientific community is still trying to understand how humans do what they do. Click's research team has developed 17 new theoretical models, 3 of which suggest that humans exist in a quantum state of simultaneously following and breaking every known law of physics. That's overthinking it, Martinez told them when she saw the research. We just try stuff until something works. The physics sorts itself out eventually. That's not how physics work, Clicks insisted. Tell that to the physics, Martinez replied with a wink. And you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe we've been so focused on understanding the universe through rules and procedures that we forgot something important. Sometimes the best solution is the one that shouldn't work but does anyway. Inspector Zix 427 Director Reek calls out, interrupting my thoughts. Perhaps you'd like to demonstrate the new emergency response flowchart. I pull up the holographic display. It's the simplest flowchart in Federation history. Is there an emergency? Are humans available? Yes, let them handle it. No, follow standard procedures. While waiting for humans, we're still working on the precise wording, Vac admits, but the principle is sound. Speaking of emergencies, Cooper pipes up from the back. Has anyone checked on that quantum core lately? The coffee rubber band stabilizer might need adjusting. The conference hall goes quiet. Then Director Reek does something unprecedented in the history of Federation Safety Administration. He shrugs. Captain Cooper says, I believe that falls under your department now. Cool. Cooper grins, pulling a handful of paper clips from his pocket. Anyone want to learn how to rewrite quantum mechanics? And that's why humans are the only species allowed to skip safety briefings, not because they're reckless but because they've somehow mastered a type of safety that doesn't need rules. A safety based on creativity, confidence and an inexplicable ability to bend reality using office supplies. As I watch a group of delegates eagerly following Cooper toward the quantum core, paper clips in hand, I can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, the humans have been right all along. Sometimes the safest approach is to throw out the safety manual and trust that between human ingenuity and a well-placed rubber band everything will Work out fine, just don't forget the coffee. You never know when you'll need to negotiate with sentient machinery. End of report. Inspector Z427, Department of Zoologic Risk Assessment. PS. If anyone needs me, I'll be learning how to fix temporal paradoxes with a paperclip for research purposes of course.